nobody there. Sky is falling, metal rain, chaos mornings, no one's sane. Crumbling towers, streets in flames, forgotten heroes, who knows their names. Broken futures, shattered dreams, end of times ain't what it seems.
Hello friends, this is Sam Chaney reporting for Weaponized News. Today is May 25th, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Memorial Day, Monday edition of Weaponized News. We have quite a bit of news to get to for you today. A few people coming online right now, I see. Welcome to the show. Hope everyone's having a great weekend. Lizzo reports barbecue joints all over the place are shutting down. They can't afford the price of beef brisket any longer. I think I saw one report some famous Texas barbecue joint. Done. They can't afford the price. We're in the golden age, bro. All right. Let's get to all this news. What do we got? We got excerpts today from, of course, Smedley Butler's War's a Racket speech. And we also have excerpts from Dwight Eisenhower farewell address, where he warns America in 1961 about the military-industrial complex and the technological scientific elite taking over. And we're there now. We are there now. So the prophetic words of President Eisenhower. We'll play an excerpt of that. We got the Pope warning about the weaponization of AI, essentially. The Pope put out a big, what do you call it? Ecumenical. I don't think we're going to cover that. It's a big old thing, but it's a big old document, but it's worth taking a look at for sure. We've got CIA, Pompeo, and Victoria Nuland getting taken to task. So we'll cover that. They had a debate with Mearsheimer and some other dude. We'll cover that. Where are we at in the Iran war? Day 87 here now on Memorial Day. Oh, it's also George Floyd Memorial Day as well, as this is an early Memorial Day, the last Monday in May. Came early this year on the 25th. So yeah, don't forget about George Floyd. We'll take a look at that. And then they came out over the weekend here. They came out over the weekend and said, ignore Trump's tweets. U.S. officials negotiating indirectly with Iran said, ignore Trump's tweets purely for domestic and media consumption. He's rigging the markets. The boy who cried wolf is going to get played out here. Okay. And so you constantly lie, talk out both sides of your mouth, your rear end. People are going to stop listening to anything you say, even if you're the president. Right? At some point, people are just saying, yeah, the guy's full of shit. You know what I mean? Which is what Trump is. Full of shit. But he's not, because he's using his public statements to manipulate the market and profiteer off of this. And it's criminal and wrong, immoral, and it needs to stop when millions of people's lives are in the balance. We'll take a look at that. There was I guess there was an ICE protest in New Jersey that caused some American violence here. Take a look at that. We got economic news. We have Epstein news. We got the steroid Olympics news. Take a look at that. Happened over the weekend. Yesterday, actually, I watched some of it. so I could report to you about what's going on at the steroid Olympics. Exciting, I know. What else? Russia's all pissed off. They did launch, 2 more Orezhniks, I believe. And so, yeah, we're still in a proxy war with Russia via Ukraine, if you forgot about that. Still going on. And Russia hit Ukraine, allegedly, reportedly, with their hypersonic Orezhnik missile. And Putin saying, keep effing around and find out. He'll arm it with a nuclear warhead. I don't know. I don't want to F around and find out with Russia and their hypersonic missile armed with a nuclear warhead. That's for sure. We'll take a look at that and more about we're in a new world order. We're in a multipolar new world order from Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov. A couple statements out of him. And the ongoing ethnic cleansing and genocide in southern Lebanon, and the genocide in Gaza continues as well. All of that and much more on this Monday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you for joining us. As I see some people are coming online here now. Shout out over there to Strong on the Rumble and Pamela. Thank you for joining us. And then I do see Lilia on the YouTube. Shout out to you guys. Thank you for getting in the chat and keeping it all going here on this holiday for America, Memorial Day. All right, let's get into on this day in history. We had quite a few on this day in history. I felt like we should go over. On this day of May 25th, we go back to the year 1241, and you know it, they were noticing on this day, 1241, over there in the evil Germany, we saw the first attack on the aardvark community in Frankfurt. They were noticing something's not quite right about these aardvarks. I'm telling you, man. On this day in 1420, Henry the Navigator is appointed governor of the Order of Christ. 1571, on this day, Holy League forms. Pope Pius V forms the Holy League to fight the Ottomans with other Catholic maritime states, including Spain, Venice, Naples, and Sicily. We're still fighting the Muslims today, allegedly. The Holy War never ends, does it? 1622 on this day, English merchant ship Tri-All wrecks on the Montebello Islands, northwestern Australia. First English to land on Australian soil and the country's oldest European shipwreck. On this day, 1716, Great Britain and the Holy Roman Empire signed the Treaty of Westminster, a defense pact. On this day in 1721, I thought this was funny. The beginning of the racketeering operation here. John Copson becomes America's first insurance agent and then went on to threaten to burn buildings down if you didn't buy insurance from. Now, I made that part up, but you see how it works like that now. 1788, on this day. Did we have a 1788? Maybe I missed that one up. 1787, George Washington presides over the Constitutional Convention opening up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On this day in 1844, we saw the first telegraphed news dispatch is published in the Baltimore Patriot newspaper, 1844. 1887, literally gaslight killing people. Gas lamp at Paris Opera catches fire, killing an estimated 200 people. So gaslight literally killing people. On this day, 1887, gaslighting is a dangerous endeavor. 1911, on this day, we saw the revolution in Mexico overthrow longtime president Porfirio Diaz, overthrown on this day in Mexico, 1911. And hell, let's bring back the friggin' Model T. You got spying. You can't drive your car because the AI says you're impaired. They're tracking everything. Let's bring back the Model T. Sadly, on this day, 1927, Henry Ford announces that he is ending production of the Model T Ford. Let's bring it back. We just need a motor, some wheels, some brakes maybe, and a steering wheel. That's it. We don't need all the doodads and all the BS. We're going to get from point A to point B without a freaking AI camera up everybody's rear end. Is that too much to ask? On this day in 1935, and the reason I report on this is because of I wonder what Jesse Owens would think about the steroid Olympics. Known as the greatest 45 minutes in sports, on this day in 1935, legendary American athlete Jesse Owens equals or breaks 4 world records in 45 minutes at a Big Ten track meet at Ferry Field in Ann Arbor, Michigan. It is remembered as the greatest 45 minutes ever in sport. Now the dude like snorted something up his nose. They said it was smelling salts at the steroid Olympics, and then went out there and lifted a bunch of weight. You know what I mean? It's just like, get the F out of here, fool. You know what I mean? But that's where we're at here in 2026. On this day in 1942, we saw the first commercial fluid catalytic cranking facility begins production at Exxon, developed by the, quote, 4 horsemen research team at Exxon. The process now produces half the world's gasoline, developed by the 4 horsemen of Exxon on this day, 1942. 1946 on this date, Jordan gains independence from Great Britain. Really? Many would say, me included, that they're a puppet state of the Anglo-American establishment to this day. Go Jordan independence. 1961 on this day, then President JFK announces the U.S. goal of putting a man on the moon before the end of the decade. Now they say we're going to have space bases. Call me skeptical. I don't believe it. On this day in 1979, we saw the film Alien. Alien was released to theaters on this day, 1979. On this day, 1981, Return of the Jedi hit the theaters. 1986, on this day, Hands Across America, 6.5 million people hold hands across America from California to New York. In the year 2000, on this day, Liberation Day of Lebanon, Aardvark land withdraws its army from most of the Lebanese territory after 22 years after its first invasion in 1978. And now they're leveling the whole place. 2018, on this day, #MeToo film producer Harvey Weinstein of the Steen clan turns himself into New York police to face charges of rape and criminal sex acts, sex abuse, and sexual misconduct. 2020, on this day, George Floyd, video of black man George Floyd's arrest and murder while restrained in Minneapolis police custody shows he was pinned down to the ground by police officer Derek Chauvin's knee for 8 minutes and 46 seconds, igniting widespread condemnation and nationwide protests. I remember that. It was quite insane indeed. And then on his death certificate, it says that George Floyd died of a fentanyl overdose. And then you look into it a little bit further, and you come to learn that George Floyd and Old Chauvin, they actually knew each other and were working at a nightclub together. It looks like they're running the rackets together. And so running prostitution, drugs, gambling, the rackets. And looks like there's a little bit more to this story than the public was first told. Then straight up a racist white cop kills a black man. Hashtag I can't breathe, right? Yeah, turns out it was a personal thing if you look into it. And they were pissed off. The syndicate there in Minneapolis got pissed off at old George Floyd for passing phony bills, right? I think it was a 20 for passing counterfeit $20 bills. And they're like, bro, this is, you can't be doing this. You know what I mean? Because it's going to bring heat. It's going to bring heat on the rackets here. And so that could have played a prominent role in his death amongst other sins in the racket. So everybody should take a look at that. And then, of course, Black Lives Matter, in large part, a giant fraud. They didn't really help the black community at all. They got a bunch of money, and the leaders of it were living in mansions, right? But helping the black community, not so much. Not so much. And then finally, on this date in 2021, new research shows impact of climate racism in the United States, with black people facing double plus 3.12 degrees Celsius increase in temperature, the amount of heat stress in urban areas. So yeah, I don't know how it's racist. I guess in the projects, they put a thermometer and put a freaking heat lamp on it. I don't know, but yeah, it is hotter in the concrete jungle in urban areas. And the climate changers have been caught putting thermometers on like the asphalt of airport runways, right? They're like, look, it's hot. Well, yeah, it's going to be hotter there, bro. But hey, what the hell? Who cares about climate change now? We got technocracy to build. We have technocracy to build. To hell with the planet and spontaneous combustion. We got the 15-minute city AI enslavement grid to build, and that takes precedent over everything. And then, did we have a civil liberties? Yeah, on this day, you know the official story of George Floyd. I told you some rest of the background. And it's looking like there was also Freemasonry involved in this George Floyd murder. And also the strangeness of George Floyd having an identical twin brother. Also very odd and strange in all of this. But yeah, it was, what does Catherine Austin Fitts say? It was a real estate redevelopment plan there in Minneapolis and other parts, because they just went through whole city blocks and freaking burned that whole thing down, if you could remember. And then, of course, those funding these operations, and the police stood down, and those funding these operations would come in later and buy it on the cheap after it was redeveloped in the name of justice for George Floyd. Very, very dirty. Okay, here's our segue. We got two segues. War is a Racket. Smedley Butler's legendary 19 33. And he also he says he served 33 years and 4 months. So he one-upped them, right? He one-upped them with the 33s. Here's an excerpt from Smedley Butler's War's a Racket.
War is just a racket. A racket is best described, I believe, as something that is not what it seems to the majority of people. Only a small inside group knows what it is about. It is conducted for the benefit of the very few at the expense of the masses. I believe in adequate defense at the coastline and nothing else. If a nation comes over here to fight, then we'll fight. The trouble with America is that when the dollar only earns 6% over here, then it gets restless and goes overseas to get 100%. Then the flag follows the dollar and the soldiers follow the flag. I wouldn't go to war again, as I have done to protect some lousy investment of the bankers. There are only two things we should fight for. One is the defense of our homes, and the other is the Bill of Rights. War for any other reason is simply a racket. There isn't a trick in the racketeering bag that the military gang is blind to. It has its finger men to point out enemies, its muscle men to destroy enemies, its brain men to plan war preparations, and a big boss super-nationalistic capitalism. It may seem odd for me, a military man, to adopt such a comparison. Truthfulness compels me to. I spent 33 years and 4 months in active military service as a member of this country's most agile military force, the Marine Corps. I served in all commissioned ranks from second lieutenant to major general, and during that period, I spent most of my time being a muscle man for big business, for Wall Street, and for the bankers. In short, I was a racketeer, a gangster for capitalism. I suspected I was just part of a racket at the time. Now I am sure of it. Like all the members of the military profession, I never had a thought of my own until I left the service. My mental faculties remained in suspended animation while I obeyed the orders of higher-ups. This is typical with everyone in the military service. I helped make Mexico, especially Tampico, safe for American oil interests in 1914. I helped make Haiti and Cuba a decent place for the National Citibank boys to collect revenues in. I helped in the raping of half a dozen Central American republics for the benefits of Wall Street. The record of racketeering is long. I helped purify Nicaragua for the International Banking House of Brown Brothers in 1909-1912. I brought light to the Dominican Republic for American sugar interests in 1916. In China, I helped to see to it that Standard Oil went its way unmolested. During those years, I had, as the boys in the back room would say, a swell racket. Looking back on it, I feel that I could have given Al Capone a few hints. The best he could do was to operate his racket in 3 districts. I operated on 3 continents.
Telling you how it is right there. That was ELT Buzz English on the YouTube. Now here is Eisenhower. This is President Eisenhower's farewell address, an excerpt of it. The full speech is like 15 minutes. I'll play like 3 or 4 here. The most important parts about be aware of the military-industrial complex and the scientific elite. We're there now. We're there now. What President Eisenhower was warning back in 1961.
But we can no longer risk emergency improvisation of national defense. We have been compelled to create a permanent armaments industry of vast proportions. Added to this, 3.5 million men and women are directly engaged in the defense establishment. We annually spend on military security alone more than the net income of all United States corporations. Now, this conjunction of an immense military establishment and a large arms industry is new in the American experience. The total influence, economic, political, even spiritual, is felt in every city, every state house, every office of the federal government. We recognize the imperative need for this development, yet we must not fail to comprehend its grave implications. Our toil, resources, and livelihood are all involved. So is the very structure of our society. In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizenry can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together. Akin to and largely responsible for the sweeping changes in our industrial military posture has been the technological revolution during recent decades. In this revolution, research has become central. It also becomes more formalized, complex, and costly. A steadily increasing share is conducted for, by, or at the direction of the federal government. Today, the solitary inventor, tinkering in his shop, has been overshadowed by task forces of scientists in laboratories and testing fields. In the same fashion, the free university, historically the fountainhead of free ideas and scientific discovery, has experienced a revolution in the conduct of research. Partly because of the huge costs involved, a government contract becomes virtually a substitute for intellectual curiosity. For every old blackboard, there are now hundreds of new electronic computers. The prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by federal employment, project allocations, and the power of money is ever present and is gravely to be regarded. Yet in holding scientific research and discovery in respect, as we should, we must also be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific, technological elite.
Scientific, technological elite. They're trying to sell us the steroid Olympics. And it's way worse than that. Here's Larry Finkelstein, BlackRock CEO, says he's going to leverage all of your retirement money that BlackRock manages. He's going to leverage all that to build this technocracy.
If we could get more and more Americans to think about growing with the United States, we will have far than enough money to invest in this infrastructure. But as the governor was talking about, the need for electrons is growing every day. Some of these, if we're going to be the leader in technology, which we are, if we are going to be the leader in AI, which we presently are, it's just going to require trillions of dollars of investments. And if we don't invest in it, China will be the global leader in this. And so to me, it's not whether, this is a must. And if you think about how that translates, it translates into a more dynamic economy. We need the United States economy to grow at over 2%. We need the U.S. economy to grow at 3%. especially with the growing deficits the federal government has. And so much of this money, not just the private, is going to be coming from the private sector, from savings accounts, from pension accounts, from insurance companies, and on and on and on. The whole world is in need of improving the infrastructure.
So there you go. They're leveraging our future, invested in his frauds, investment schemes to build out technocracy. It's unsettling. Here's Anthropix, aha. Yeah, I would say it's a bit unsettling here now, isn't it?
The third is the need for discernment on the nature of AI models. I am a scientist. I lead a research team that studies the internal structure of these models. What is actually happening inside them? And I will be honest, we keep finding things that are mysterious, even unsettling. We find structures that mirror results from human neuroscience. We find evidence of introspection. We find internal states that functionally mirror joy, satisfaction, fear, grief, and unease. I don't know what that means, but I think it warrants ongoing discernment.
Well, hell, Larry Finkelstein says throw the kitchen sink at it. So, yeah. You got the AI scientists saying, yeah, unsettling and mysterious things. Here's the Pope. Here's Pope Leo warning to disarm AI.
Artificial intelligence needs to be disarmed. The word is strong, I know, but deliberately chosen because this moment needs words capable of attracting attention, awakening consciences, and indicating paths forward for humanity. The Church has long been working for nuclear disarmament, aware that every great technical power can affect people's lives, and so must be accompanied by adequate moral discernment and public control. Nuclear disarmament remains a service to peace and the dignity of the human family. In a similar sense, artificial intelligence now demands to be disarmed, freed from logics that turn it into an instrument of domination, exclusion, and death. Like nuclear energy, it must be at the service of all and of the common good.
Yeah, but the military-industrial complex has already weaponized it. Six years ago today, George Floyd died with that cop's knee on his neck. Conveniently enough filmed. They're in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Here's Trump earlier today.
From 1776 to 2026, America has always stood as a great and moral cause. Our warriors are no mere mercenaries. They are guardian angels who stride across the battlefields of history and stand watch over the highest and most beautiful plains the human spirit has ever seen, holding the line between liberty and tyranny, between civilization and barbarism, between good and evil. Wherever the American soldier walks, wherever he fights, wherever he fails, and wherever he falls, he does it for the destiny of a nation like no other. There's never been anybody like you. And for the fate of freedom on this earth, we salute you like nobody has ever been saluted before.
But that's all bullshit. It rings hollow because you heard Smedley Butler expose the racket Here's the 13 dead American soldiers so far in the Iran war that they admit. I still say it's worse than this. Tragically, these 13 Americans are admittedly dead. Who even knows if they died in the Iran war? The government lies so damn much. They could have died in whatever, and they just say, oh, they died in the Iran war. You know what I mean? Seriously. Never trust the government about anything they say. But officially, these are, tragically enough, the 13 dead U.S. soldiers so far. Here's Trump laying the wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier. Yep, you died for the racket. Sorry to report here. Here's Mike Pompeo and Victoria Nuland getting their ass handed to them, trying to sell the war in a debate over the weekend.
This is what human decency demands. You don't let a radical regime close off the global economy by firing Shahed missiles into nations that did nothing. Right, they're firing into civilians in the United Arab Emirates, even just this week. That's just not something that the world can accept. And so this monster is worthy of the hunt.
You do know, Mike, that we started the war.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Oh, no. No, no, no.
They weren't firing those missiles until Israel and the United States attacked Iran. You do understand.
Welcome to 1979, when the revolutionary regime began to kill Europeans.
You do know that we overthrew the democratically elected government in 1954.
Just for the record, you were talking about this.
You don't think Iran has? You think Iran's forgotten about that?
No, I suspect they've not.
You don't think Iran remembers that we supported Saddam Hussein in the Iran-Iraq War?
I know
forgotten
this.
about this?
I know this.
Other countries have history.
Do you think Iran is a monster?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think there's. I'm glad I don't live there. I think many countries do many bad things, including my own, and I wouldn't call the United States a monster.
But do also remember that we wouldn't have had October 7th if we hadn't had Iranian support for Hamas.
I agree. We wouldn't have had October 7th if we'd gotten peace in the Middle East, and that's a much longer story.
It is, and every single U.S. president has tried and will continue to.
Not very hard.
But it is very important to emphasize there's no evidence that Iran even knew about October 7th, much less
Oh my goodness. I'm sure it is lovely to live where you live and believe that.
There's no evidence.
There is no evidence on the public record of that. At the very least, Aardvark stood down. Looks like a bunch of it was, there's a bunch of fake AI videos out there. And on it goes about the October 7th attacks. Trump wants Arab Muslim countries to normalize relations with Aardvark land in exchange for Iran deal. Trump demands, Trump demands Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, Pakistan sign Abraham Accords as condition of Iran deal. Trump posted on Truth Social earlier today demanding that all countries involved in Iran negotiations simultaneously sign the Abraham Accords, describing it as a prerequisite for any deal and warning those who refuse would be excluded from the agreement. it should be mandatory that all these countries at a minimum simultaneously sign onto the Abraham Accords, Trump wrote, naming those countries we just named: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Pakistan, Turkey, Egypt, Jordan, and Bahrain. The UAE and Bahrain are already members. Trump warned if they don't, they should not be part of this deal, in that it shows bad intention. He said should start with the immediate signing by Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and everybody else should follow suit. He also dangled Iran's own potential membership, writing, if Iran signs its agreement with me, it would be an honor to have them also be part of this unparalleled world coalition. Yeah, that's never going to happen. Who's going to be the enemy then? Who's going to be the enemy then? The Abraham Accords, brokered during Trump's first term, normalized relations, quote, normalized relations between Aardvarkland and the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and Kazakhstan. Trump's demand would require the mediating countries to recognize Aardvarkland and normalize relations as a condition of ending the Iran war. A significant ask, given that Saudi Arabia has publicly conditioned any normalization on a credible and irreversible path to Palestinian statehood, a position shared in various forms by Turkey, Egypt, and other countries on the list. The demand comes as the U.S. has allowed Aardvarkland to continue the daily killings of Palestinians in Gaza for more than 7 months since the October 2025 Trump brokered ceasefire, with over 900 Palestinians killed since the agreement was approved by Aardvarkland. The U.S. and Aardvarkland are also deliberately blocking minimum levels of food, medicine, shelter, fuel, and reconstruction aid into Gaza, i.e., the siege continues. President Trump has also removed sanctions on the most violent Aardvarkland settlers in the occupied West Bank, where rampant state-backed settler violence to uproot Palestinian families has gone unchecked since the start of his second term. Trump closed his social media post with a warning: it will only be a great deal for all or no deal at all. Back to the battlefront and shooting, but bigger and stronger than ever before. Here's that post and by the way, Trump can't meme and he sucks at golf. There you go. And so is Iran listening to any of this? It looks like they're not. We'll get to that report in a second here. Pakistan immediately rejected the proposal, calling the two issues not interlinked and cannot be made so. Saudi Arabia's long-standing position requires a roadmap to Palestinian statehood before normalization with Aardvarkland. So, dead on arrival there with all that out of Trump. Senior Iranian sources, this is an exclusive report out of the Cradle, they say, exclusive senior Iranian sources tell the Cradle Tehran distrusts Washington, warns of new military escalation. Well, they're damn terrorists. They're monsters, according to CIA Pompeo man, right? Sure they are. A senior Iranian source told the Cradle that Tehran remains deeply skeptical of the ongoing indirect negotiations with Washington, believing any potential agreement may amount only to, quote, temporary de-escalation serving U.S. domestic interests, particularly economic pressures and fuel prices, rather than a long-term strategic shift. Iran does not believe any possible agreement with the United States would represent a final or permanent end to the war, the official said, adding that Tehran believes Trump is facing major internal pressure tied to the U.S. economy and gasoline prices. Iran also views the current framework of any, quote, limited agreement as serving Washington more than Iranian interests, which is why it has so far resisted pressure to accept temporary understandings. Iranian assessments indicate that the United States and Aardvark land may still seek an opportunity to launch a new military strike against Iran later this autumn, even if a final agreement is reached. The official also revealed temporary deal to, quote, wait out the remainder of Trump's term, while others strongly oppose that approach, calling it a, quote, flawed strategic assumption, given that nearly 2 years remain before the next U.S. presidential election. The negotiations are effectively based on a 14-point framework, and reports about such a proposal are largely accurate, according to the source. The main disputes center on two issues: Iran's insistence that any agreement must include a comprehensive end to the war and military escalation across all fronts, especially Lebanon, and the issue of frozen Iranian assets. Netanyahu, shadow president of America, is reportedly pressuring Trump not to tie any agreement with Iran to an Aardvark land withdrawal from southern Lebanon, while Tehran believes nearly 1 million people remain displaced inside Lebanon, increasing pressure on Iran not to make concessions related to the Lebanese file. Tehran also insists that the first step in any understanding with Washington must involve releasing part of Iran's frozen assets as a practical test of U.S. intentions. Washington recently prevented Qatar from transferring part of those funds to Russia before they were to be moved onward to Iran through Russian channels, according to the official. Iranian officials reportedly view this as further proof that the United States remains unwilling to take meaningful confidence-building measures during the negotiations. And then here, don't pay attention to these posts. They say it's for public consumption and media consumption. Here's Trump earlier today, very mature of him, leader of the free world, on his True Social, put out this AI meme. Obama, let's negotiate. I will blow us up, right? A terrorist. Biden, let's negotiate. I will blow us up. And then Trump turns it around. I will blow us up. Let's negotiate. Really? Really? Iran's foreign minister spokesman said the Zionist entity are doing their best to undermine the agreement, and we do expect to see some actions by Aardvark land to torpedo the entire negotiation process. Nothing is ruled out. So, antiseptics in Iran. The IRGC-affiliated Fars news agency reported that U.S. officials involved in the negotiations sent indirect messages to the Iranian side through intermediaries, urging them to, quote, ignore Trump's tweets, saying his public statements are, quote, purely for domestic and media consumption, and that his position at the negotiation table is completely different. A source told Fars that Trump has realized that Iran is not one to give concessions and sends word through intermediaries that his statements should not be paid attention to, because he's using his public statements to manipulate financial markets and profiteer off of all the rest of the world suffering. I added that part. That's a report out of Drop Site News. There's ceasefire, bro. No, we're in Iran war day 87. There's shooting going on here. Report out of CNN. U.S. targets Iranian missile launch sites and boats in, quote, self-defense strikes as negotiations continue. The U.S. military conducted, quote, self-defense strikes targeting Iranian missile launch sites and boats around the Strait of Hormuz earlier today amid a ceasefire between the two countries and ongoing negotiations to end the war, according to U.S. Central Command. U.S. forces conducted self-defense strikes in southern Iran today to protect our troops from threats posed by Iranian forces, CENTCOM spokesman Timothy Hawkins told CNN. And so there's ceasefire, bro. We already sunk their whole navy, but we're still singing those damn terrorist boats. Yeah. And there were some people killed as well there in these self-defense strikes. Again, if Iran would have never built their country around all our military bases, we wouldn't even have a problem. Damn terrorists. There was a protest in Newark, New Jersey at the ICE detention facility earlier today. Here's some protesters were met by pepper spray, pepper balls, and taken down and dragged into transport vans. Here's some clip from freedomnews.tv of that action. Thankfully, no weaponization of vehicles and no dead Americans at this protest, but heavy pepper spray. Democrat Senator Kim got pepper sprayed during an anti-ICE protest. Here's some video of that. I don't know. Should that's like what? Fed on Fed crime? Should ICE have whacked Senator Kim there? Fed on Fed crime? On to Epstein reporting now. Here's Massey.
I want to ask about the Epstein files. As you've noted, the speech and debate clause actually protects you from being prosecuted for whatever you say on the floor of the House. You have named names in the Epstein files in the past. Can we expect you to name more names in the coming weeks and months?
Yes. Todd Blanche is violating the law. There's still millions of files they haven't released. We know from talking to the victims' lawyers that their own 302 forms haven't been released. We know that files have been over-redacted. I have released at least 3 names of billionaires who are implicated in this. I don't think it's possible to get to convictions with Todd Blanche at the top and with the FBI director, Kash Patel, at the top, because they've effectively both perjured themselves by saying that there's nobody else in the files. Even Melania doesn't believe that. The First Lady knows that Jeffrey Epstein didn't act alone. And here's the great thing, Kristen. Whether I'm in Congress or not, the Epstein Files Transparency Act is a law, and it goes on for years. So if we can't get this Attorney General and this FBI Director to do the right thing, the next ones who take those seats are obligated by law to release the files that these individuals are not releasing now.
Congress
took that swipe at Trump. Melania knows Epstein didn't act alone, obviously. UK at least acts like they're publicly ashamed. America, no shame. UK police are taking the Epstein files seriously. The FBI, not so much. Not so much. Report out of the UK Independent. Yeah, not so much. Well, the head of the FBI won the gold medal for Epstein file cover-ups. And he can't look at you straight for some reason. If you want to understand influence operations, start by asking how many billionaires married women connected to the Epstein network. We were told that over the weekend, Trump made a great sacrifice for public service. He could not attend his son's wedding or go golfing because he was busy plotting genocide with the Pentagon. Turns out Don Jr. just got engaged to daughter of one of Jeffrey Epstein's key enablers. They do like to keep it all in the family. Don Jr. got married again yesterday, too, or that would be Saturday, I believe, to Bettina Anderson, a Palm Beach socialite. Her father, Harry Lloyd Anderson, was president of Palm Beach National Bank and Trust Company. He wrote a character reference for Jeffrey Epstein, saying, "Mr. Epstein enjoys an excellent reputation in our community. Jeffrey is a gentleman of the highest integrity." Many people are saying that being a poor judge of character seems to be a hereditary trait that can be passed down. Here's that letter of recommendation. So you can only cry wolf so much. So how many lies do we need to take before the public just says, "Nah, you're full of shit"? You know what I mean? We got to be getting there, man. The emperor has no clothes. The emperor has no clothes. Paulo Zampoli, who pulled the White House strings to have his ex detained by ICE, has gained possession of the iPhone that Amanda Undergrew had when she was arrested in Florida. It was pinged 6 days ago at his New York City residence. How and why? This should be national news. Paulo Zampoli, who pulled the White House strings. Yeah, I think there was more on this report, though. Exclusive, Anthony Andrews posted on the X. Amanda Undergrew did a location search of her iPhone that was confiscated by the Aventura Police Department when her and her husband, Joa, were arrested last June. It currently shows being located at Paulo Zampoli's apartment in New York City. still targeting victims here now. We're on Todd Blanche, acting head of the Department of Justice, the biggest cover-up in American history, the Epstein files.
Blanche, now the head of the Department of Justice, is taking good care of Ghislaine Maxwell, who is an absolutely treacherous, revolting human being, but will not meet with the other survivors who want to tell their story. Why? Well, it's obvious. It is a massive, massive cover-up. You may have missed the Oversight Committee testimony of Sarah Kellen. What she testified to is that she had been groomed and abused for many, many years by Jeffrey Epstein and others. Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi, the Department of Justice has said that no other victims have come forward. We now have somebody who they never spoke to. They do want to speak with the Department of Justice. They do want to tell their stories, and they're not being allowed to. And they can try to distract with slush funds and wars in Iran, but we are not letting this go. This cover-up is going to be uncovered one way or another.
All right, let's take our live commercial break here. Thank you for joining us on this Memorial Day early this year. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker, a white background sticker, and a clear sticker. We have the stickers at the shop. Links in the description below, weaponizednews.com/shop. We got coffee mugs, t-shirts, baseball caps, a bunch of different gear and items. Weaponizednews.com/shop. In the store over there, some books and a few other items. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App, all in the links in the description below this video. Thank you to all of the contributors out there. If you want to become a paid subscriber, Weaponized News Substack link is in the description below. We give everything away here free. Become a paid subscriber on Substack. You get the show, a summary of the show, and links to almost everything we talk about for documentation and your further research purposes. Any which way you choose to support us is truly appreciated. Give me that like, share, subscribe. Push that notification button. All of that is free for you. Help support independent reporting and analysis, brought to you 5 days a week, broadcasting live, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern Time, weaponizednews.com/shop. The links to everything are in the description below this video. If we ever run into whatever the problem is, censorship, bugs on the internet, technical glitches, whatever the problem is, the links to, we're on 8 different channels. So if you miss us on one channel, barring the whole internet going down, I think we'll probably still be broadcasting on one of them. So check out those links in the description below this video as well. We just went through an hour of hardcore news here on this Memorial Day, commercial free. Give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button, show some support out there in the audience. And we do appreciate, again, all of the patrons of the store, the donations, and the subscribers. We need a whole lot more, though, honestly, to make a living out of this enterprise, and that's why we continue to march forward. And somehow, some way, someday, we're going to balance our books a hell of a lot better than the Pentagon or the Federal Reserve ever could. All right, thank you guys for all of your support and chatting it up in the chat rooms, keeping all of that lively. It is much appreciated. All right, welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Memorial Day, Monday, May 25th, 2026. Let's get right back into the news here. Yeah, Iran International. They report several people are killed in U.S. strike on Iran's Lar Ark Island Several people were reportedly killed after what Iranian outlet SNN described as a U.S. aardvark land attack on the southern part of Lar Ark Island near the Strait of Hormuz earlier today. There's a ceasefire, bro. There's dead bodies laying. It's a ceasefire. Oh, okay. Aardvark said so. So this ridiculousness, your technological scientific elite, right? They're rolling out dystopia every which way they possibly can here now, trying to make our skin crawl with the steroid Olympics, the enhanced games, as it's officially billed, went on yesterday in Las Vegas. I did catch some of it, and the way they're acting is bizarre. They're trying to normalize being a drug addict and go out and do athletic events. This is just wrong on so many different levels. The message to the youth and so on. They're reportedly, these athletes, some of them reportedly on anabolic steroids, human growth hormone, amphetamines. Who even knows what other kind of designer drugs they're on? Something probably we never even heard of that they're cooking up in their labs, biohacking labs, as it's called. Yeah, that one weird dude, what's his name? Brian Johnson. He can't even be in the sunlight, right? He goes out there and with an umbrella, and he's like, the UV rays are too much for me, bro. It's like, bro, and I understand the UV is bad. You take sun in moderation, but bro, you're not going to live forever, never even getting any sun, and everything artificial. Sorry, bros, you're not smarter than God, than creation. Sorry, neither's your AI. Sorry, bros, it's just never going to happen. You're not smarter than the creator of the universe. Sorry, bros. That's the reality, but they don't want to face that. And so, and of course, backed by Peter Thiel, amongst other transhumanists. And the big old weightlifter dude, big old dude, I forget even his name. He like snorted something that they're like, that's smelling salts. Sure, right? He like snorts something up his nose and it goes out. I was like, is that Zelensky from Ukraine? No, it's a weightlifter dude from like Iceland, I think, or Greenland. Anyhow, snorts something up his nose and goes out there and lifts like 1,000 pounds or whatever. Just like, dude, give it up already, bro. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. A world record was set. Here's the dude, the head of it. What's his name? I can't even post his name here. Anyhow. And they did give him a big payout. This dude right here, Enhanced Games. He's the head of it, the CEO of it. I forget even his name. Probably says in this article. Anyhow, what the heck's his name? Biohacking Enhanced Games. Christian Angermeyer, billionaire biohacker. You're not going to cheat death. You're not smarter than the creator of the universe. I don't care how many computers and how much money you got, bro. That's the reality of the situation. I know they don't want to hear it. They won't hear it, but sad to report to you here now that this is an embarrassment, honestly. To me, it seems that way. They did break but you break it because their thing was break a world record, and they were paying out like $1 million to some of the winners of some of these events. And it's like, but you'll always have that asterisk, just like the steroids in baseball. What was it? Barry Bonds hit 73 home runs that one year. Yeah, but tested positive for a bunch of steroids, and you got that asterisk, right? And so I forget, who was it? The home run leader, it was Roger Maris, I believe. I I forget, even like 52 home runs in a season. I forget the exact numbers. When I was a kid collecting baseball cards, I knew all that, all the stats and all that. Anyway, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, the big home run hitters there in the 90s, all juiced up on steroids. They all got an asterisk by their name. So, you know what I mean? What's that really worth? What's that really worth? It's you've tainted it here now. This report out of GBN says enhanced games backfires as just one world record broken during controversial Las Vegas event. And I think we do have video of the swimmer. Did we have video? Thought we did. Yeah, here's a video of the swimmer breaking the world record. I believe it's the 50-meter freestyle. The 50-meter men's freestyle here. But you got to asterisk because you're juiced up. You're, quote, enhanced. Here it is, the one world record with an asterisk that was broken there.
Call me, Brad One record! 24 record! New world record! Christian Kolomeyev, 20.81! In the final events, we have our first world record. Oh, forget Ted DiBiase. We've got a $2 million man.
That guy won $1 million for that. It's a horrible message to send to the youth, honestly. And yeah, you can't be running around doing steroids and freaking amphetamines all day. Your heart is going to give out. Sorry to report to you here now. With all your biohacking nonsense. And that dude, Brian Johnson, says he's going to live forever. He looks sickly. Like, dude doesn't look healthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just all creepy. It's very creepy. It's just wrong. I don't even care. Do whatever you guys want, but I fear this is going to influence the youth is the problem here now. You're an adult, you go do all of the steroids you want, bro, and run 100 miles an hour. Have at it. But you're going to influence the youth here now and corrupt them is my major problem with all of this. So, yeah, that guy, he broke the world record in the men's 50-meter freestyle swimming event. But again, nobody's going to recognize it because you're enhanced. So it's bogus and corrupt. As with everything these maniacs do, these transhumanist technocrats. It's dirty, it's corrupt, and it's just wrong. And talking about wrong, don't listen to Trump's tweets, but the markets out there do listen to Trump's tweets. Trump bought Eli Lilly stock as his administration boasted its obesity drugs. And they even created the website, TrumpRx.gov. Trump earlier this year bought as much as $680,000 in stock of Eli Lilly, the maker of the blockbuster obesity drugs. And then he turns around and pumps it through Bobby Kennedy Jr. and the Maha crew. Take your synthetic Gila monster venom. And there's no long-term safety data even on this stuff. The GLP-1 inhibitors. And you see all these celebrities strung out. They look like worse than they're on strung out on freaking crack cocaine or meth or whatever. You know what I mean? They just look horrible. A Zimbic face. They're sucked up from the neck up. He buys stock, leverages his position in government as president, chief executive of the federal government, leverages that position, creates TrumpRx.gov, and says, yeah, I cut the prices, come buy it, TrumpRx.gov, backhandedly owning well over $500,000 worth of the company's stock. Now they're saying we care about your health. Dirty and corrupt as the day is long. Ozempic. You can get your weight loss drugs, Ozempic, through Medicare for $50 a month. So get you strung out on Ozempic. Well worth it as long as Trump profiteers. That's really all that matters, isn't it? Iran war could add billions of dollars in interest payments to the U.S. debt. The Financial Times reports, not it could, Financial Times, it is and will. Not it could. So a little editorial correction there by me for that Financial Times headline. Not it could, it is and will continue to exponentially add billions of dollars in interest payments to the U.S. national debt. 7% of retirees recently re-entered the labor force, according to a report out of AARP. So that's what you want to do in retirement in your golden age, is go back into the labor force. Bitcoin's market is increasingly reliant on purchases from Strategy and its executive chairman, Michael Saylor, according to a report out of Bloomberg. What's that company? Sun Strategy, I believe. So they're essentially the big whales running the Bitcoin market right now. So far away, right? So far away from what it was originally intended to be peer-to-peer internet digital money. It's not that any longer. Bitcoin has been hijacked a long time ago. 40 years old is the new 50 years old. Millennial job seekers are giving their resumes a facelift by hiding years of work experience to land jobs. That's a report out of Fortune magazine. And somebody said they want 20 years of experience and want you to be 25 years old, and somehow that's supposed to work. I know math is hard and racist and hateful, but the math just doesn't work out on this. A lot of this stuff. Americans are feeling worse about the economy now than they were during the bad times, the 2008 financial crisis, and following the 9/11 attacks. That's a report out of Unusual Wales. Pretty bad economy. But we're in the golden age. Republicans lost the midterms. More than 85,000 technology sector jobs have been eliminated, a 33% increase from the same time last year, according to placement firm Challenger, Gray, and Christmas. They had to get their 33 columns in there. Artificial intelligence is causing a net U.S. loss of 16,000 jobs per month, according to a report out of Goldman Sachs. And then here's Mr. Technocracy, J.D. Vance. There's reports today that he may not run for president in 2028. I doubt those reports because they need their man. All those pay off and corrupt whoever the next guy is. But old J.D. Vance feels the reports say, we know he's a puppet of Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and the technocracy crew. But reports say there's been a disconnect here now between Trump and Vice President Vance on the Iran war. I have a hard time believing much of these reports. Here's him explaining away Trump profiteering off of the Iran war.
The president's financial disclosures were released recently, and they showed a lot of stock trades in companies that he has talked up at events, official events at the White House, on his True Social account, sometimes even putting the stock ticker symbols in his posts and encouraging people to buy their stock. Americans, according to recent polling, are increasingly describing the president as corrupt. And trading stocks...
This is a hell of a question.
Thank you, sir. Trading individual stocks is something that you said that public officials should not be able to do when you ran for Senate all those years ago. And yet the president, who arguably has access to more non-public information than your average senator, is not only buying and selling individual stocks either through his trust.
Okay. What's the question?
The question is, the question, sir, is how can you and your administration argue to Americans that you're cleaning up corruption, you're preventing fraud, you're fighting the sorts of things that harm people and people's financial situations, when the president seems to be talking up stocks that he owns, selling them, and enriching himself?
Okay, so here, let me answer your question here. That was a doozy. Before I answer your question, I want to just observe there are different ways to ask a question. Okay, you could just ask a question and try to get your answer, or you could do like a speech where you say, Mr. Vice President, you're a terrible human being, and so is the president, and so is the entire cabinet. And then I'm like, what's your question? And then your question is, how dare you? Come on, man. Have a little bit of objectivity in the way that you ask these questions, because there were a lot of things in that speech masquerading as a question that didn't actually get asked, okay? Number one, the president doesn't sit at the Oval Office on his computer on his Robinhood account buying and selling stocks. That's absurd. He has independent wealth advisors who manage his money. He is a wealthy person. He has had success in...
There's a whole team behind him manipulating the most corrupt administration in history. He even puts the stock ticker symbol so you don't make a mistake about which stock he's scamming on. Price of a gallon of gasoline did go down a little bit here now. Went down a good, 7 cents? It's like the golden age is here. According to AAA, the national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline here in America is $4.50. We'll round it up to 51 cents. You can see right here. $4.50, 7, right? So it's just rounded up. But you could see it did go down a little bit as compared to yesterday. Went down about 7 cents. So looking good, feeling like the golden age is back here with us. Republicans are going to lose the midterms bigly, as Trump would say. Let's take a look at the cost burden of the Iran war on the American household. According to Brown University, the Watson School of International and Public Affairs, Iran war energy cost tracker we're up to now $361.73 per U.S. household cost burden across gasoline and diesel. Total consumer cost burden since the beginning of the Iran war on February 28, 2026 is $47.4 billion and moving as fast as the eye can see there, just like interest on our national debt. Iran says it will not impose tolls on ships using the Strait of Hormuz, instead charging for maritime services and, quote, environmental protection measures in the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman. Not a toll, bro. See, everybody plays these semantical games. It's a ceasefire, bro, but there's dead bodies laying. Well, are you antiseptic? They're like, you guys can't charge a toll to go across that part of water and say, if you don't pay, we shoot you. Iran's like, bro, it's for environmental protection. Oh, well, okay. Like, we're destroying the meaning of words because the level of lying. Like, we're going to get to the point where we can't even communicate because the level of lying coming out of these governments is just next level. They're destroying the meaning of words. That's part of demoralization, part of 1984, part of subversion. They're literally destroying the meaning of words. What they say doesn't even mean anything anymore. Oh, there's ceasefire? Yeah, that's cool. There's dead bodies laying everywhere. Oh, you could pass through here. It's not a toll. We'll shoot you in the face if you don't. It's for the environment, bro. Here's Lavrov, more on the new world order, Russian foreign minister. It's translated. We have an English translation via Russian television, but he does mention the world order here.
At the current stage of the global development, when a multipolar system of the world order is emerging, it is especially valuable that our African friends has always aspired and continue to aspire to unite the efforts for the sake of achieving common goals. The Organization of the African Unity, the predecessor of the African Union, was established more than 60 years ago. Since then,
Russia, China, going in heavy, soft-handed, but heavily investing in Africa. Have a whole lot of natural resources there to be exploited. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov reads Putin's address to African nations at Russia-African Summit in Moscow. Let's play that clip. Putin's statement to African nations.
Please accept my warmest congratulations on the occasion of the Africa Day. It is a holiday that symbolizes the victory of your peoples over colonialism, their aspiration to freedom, peace, and prosperity. The countries of Africa achieved impressive successes in economic and social areas, playing more and more important role in finding solutions to the relevant issues in international agenda. Within the African Union, as well as a number of sub-regional organizations, there is expanding constructive interaction. Mechanisms of collective response to local conflicts and crises are shaping. Integration processes are consistently promoted. The Russian Federation gives a lot of significance to strengthening traditional friendly ties with African states. We are united by the aspiration to build a just multipolar world order based on the true equality and the rule of international law, freedom from any forms of discrimination and dictatorship.
Russia and China going in with a soft hand. Trump saying we'll kill everybody, do what I say. stark contrast there. By design. By design. Here's George Galloway on the Ukrainian attack on the dormitory, killing Russian children that we talked about on Friday. That was last week. And Putin was all pissed off about it. Let's hear George Galloway take on it.
Well, it may very well do, but I have to just tell you that I think this strike on the dormitory was extremely accurate. I think it was entirely deliberate. They deliberately targeted these children in this dormitory. It was a deliberate act of mass murder. It was therefore a war crime, a crime against humanity, and it must be prosecuted as such in time to come. So I don't think there was anything accidental. I think Palantir can, in his twisted, perverse way, consider it a job well done. You tried to murder all these children and you succeeded in doing so. So the issue of whose weapons are they? Well, we know who is supplying these weapons. And it would be entirely within Russia's rights to retaliate against those who are making these strikes into Russia possible. And they're now talking about missiles, a joint British-German missile. Little Macron is trying to get in on the act, which will penetrate far deeper into Russia. So it would be entirely within Russia's rights of self-defense to take action against the people who are making all of this possible. And who knows who did the targeting? My suspicion is obvious from the stance that I am taking. What I do know is that much of the striking of civilian and civilian infrastructure targets in Russia are being directed by foreign hands, NATO hands. NATO is up to its neck in the blood of these schoolgirls, in the blood of these students. Of that, I am absolutely certain.
Lavrov urged Secretary of State Little Marco Rubio to evacuate the U.S. Embassy in Kiev. It's Kiev. They try to change it. Yeah, Putin was all pissed off. He's evil, YouTube, by the way. Unprovoked invasion, obviously. Yeah, but that hit they did on that school dormitory had Putin all pissed off. And he did what he said he was going to do. He said, I'm going to retaliate, right? Strongly. Well, they hit him allegedly with the Reznik here now. And Putin's threatening to arm the Reznik hypersonic missile with nuclear warheads. So you think we escalated a little bit there? Here's video of the alleged Reznik. And allegedly there's no defense against it. This hypersonic missile. It's reportedly the third time. It's the third time that Russia's used the Reznik missile in the war against Ukraine. Justified by Moscow as retaliation for the Ukrainian strike on occupied Starbilsk. Here's the alleged Reznik hypersonic missile that there is no defense against it, allegedly.
Збили, дверь падала. Блядь, на нас! Твою мать, блядь!
Та не кричи.
Та тихо. Це пулі або хило. Воно де теж, де. Ёб твою мать. Знаєте, що це? Це орешник.
Орешник ебанул, точно, разлетел.
Це орешник.
Це орешник, оце ж упало.
Це орешник. 6 по 6. Орешник не збивається, він падає.
Це він упав, оце що це. А що ж це розлетілося на часті?
Оце?
Так.
Артем, на яку
They say they hit him with the Reznik. It's a non-nuclear option that puts out the energy blast wave akin to an alleged nuclear blast. I thought we're winding this whole thing down. Not so much. Not so much. It's only Russia-Ukraine war is escalating. It's quite horrific in the war. Putin's bad. There's former CIA director David Bitchute about using 10,000 drones a day against Russia.
We're China to do. So
there's a number of issues. Well, I've said publicly for a number of years and written about it as well, and very recently in the Wall Street Journal, Foreign Affairs, The Hill, I was trying to get attention of Congress on an issue, that we have not remotely learned all the lessons we should have from the war in Ukraine. That is the future of war right now. It's a war in which one side alone, Ukraine, is using 10,000 drones a day. 90% of the casualties on the Russian side are caused by drones. Tanks can't maneuver anymore. They can't survive. Armored vehicles, you can't even drive vehicles in the death zone, which is 35 kilometers on either side of the front lines, which aren't even lines anymore because drones can fly into trenches and kill people. So they're survival positions. So this is just a vast change. And by the way, there's more coming, because within a year or two, we're going to see not remotely piloted unmanned systems. And keeping in mind that Ukraine is going from 3.5 million drones manufactured last year to 7 million this year. So they can get up to 20,000 drones per day if they can find the pilots. But in the future, we're going to see autonomous systems, truly autonomous, that do not require a pilot to remotely operate them. And then you face drone swarms. And that is something for which we really don't have a solution. There's high-powered microwave coming. It's very short range. It's very effective. But you're going to have tons of it, given the 2 to 3 kilometer range that it has. It's spectacular. Everything drops.
So that's exciting. Autonomous war systems are coming, i.e. Skynet, i.e. Terminator was a documentary. Stop it. Stop it. Peace, bro. Peace, bro. Why do you want to piss Russia off to the point they're shooting the Rezniks? You know what I mean? Stop it. Here you go. Here's traitor Mike Huckabee, ambassador to Aardvarkland out of the Trump administration. I don't say it lightly. He's literally a traitor. He's hanging out with convicted spy for Aardvarkland, freaking Pollard.
I wonder if everyone in Lebanon understands that if there were no Israel, they wouldn't have a cell phone. I wonder if they understand that every time they use a USB, every time they use car navigation, that every time they eat a cherry tomato or have a delicious bite of seedless watermelon, instead of saying, I can't talk to those people, they should step across the border, shake the hands and say, thank you. Thank you for helping create some things that have made my life better and easier.
And those claims have been debunked. He's full of shit, a traitor. Just beyond the pale of disgusting. beyond the pale of disgusting. They should love being ethnically cleansed and genocided, actually, for the greater Aardvark land project, for these religious fanatical maniacs. There's more from them. Usury's a sin too for you good Christians.
Their projects. I got to realizing I'm meeting some of the future billionaires of Israel. Some of these young people, maybe they're 15, 16, 17 now, but give them just probably a very short period of time, and in their 20s, we'll all be wanting to borrow money from some of them. So I want to go ahead and get their names and phone numbers now.
Isn't he feeding into the stereotype of Aardvark bankers? Certainly appears so there. Good Christian Zionist traitor, Mike Huckabee. Aardvark Land Army systematically targets medical professionals, medical facilities, and ambulances in Lebanon, just like they did in Gaza. There's a report from Courtney Barnu on the ground there. Aardvark Land attacks across Lebanon since the ceasefire. There's dead bodies laying everywhere. On March 2nd, attacks have killed 3,123 civilians and wounded 9,506 Lebanese civilians. They've whacked a total of 115 paramedics. Let's see this report.
I'm reporting to you from the Civil Defense Center in Nabatea, which was hit last night with an Israeli airstrike, as you can see. 12 days ago, the Israeli army targeted paramedics outside of this building as they were attempting to rescue a tuk-tuk driver who had been injured in an Israeli drone strike. The Israeli army systematically targets medical professionals, medical facilities, and ambulances in Lebanon, just like they did in Gaza. These targeted attacks are acts of genocide, and they are paid for with US dollars and supported by the European Union. This was a medical center. It is gone. It is gone.
Here's 9 in the last 3 days. In the last 3 days, 9 paramedics whacked these guys. Aardvark Land killed 9 paramedics in roughly the last 72 hours. According to Lebanon's latest health sector figures, now updated after these killings, 125 healthcare workers killed, 273 injured, 149 attacks on the healthcare sector, 142 ambulances targeted, 32 medical centers destroyed, 16 hospitals forced out of service, 221 ambulance crews attacked. Lebanon's emergency sector is not collapsing accidentally, is being systematically dismantled. Aardvark Land is committing war crimes against Lebanon's medical services. Aardvark Land Prime Minister Bibi, shadow president of America, and Defense Minister Katz held talks earlier today and are leaning towards significantly expanding military operations in southern Lebanon. Aardvark Land Channel 14 reported Netanyahu said in a video message he has asked the Aardvarkland military to step on the gas even more, saying the war with Hezbollah continues. The IDF has prepared a broader strike plan targeting buildings and infrastructure it claims are being used by Hezbollah and is recommending immediate implementation. Channel 14 said, the news comes amid the Aardvarkland outlet describing as a particular difficult month in the northern sector. 11 Aardvarkland soldiers have been killed, mostly by explosive FPV drones. Sustained attrition along the confrontational front and growing anger among northern residents. Senior IDF officers and commanders have also voiced sharp internal criticism that the current policy is not generating deterrence. Facing some reported pressure from Trump to avoid deep strikes in Lebanon, particularly in the capital city of Beirut, Aardvarkland is signaling tonight that the rules of the game are changing. The report said, as long as Hezbollah drone and rocket attacks continue, strikes will intensify. Channel 14 out of Aardvarkland is widely considered to be extremely closely aligned with and supportive of Bibi, often described by media experts and critics as Aardvarkland's Fox News. So Channel 14 is Aardvarkland's war channel, or direct message transmitting tool for the Bibi regime. And that's a report out of Drop Site News. It just goes on and on. Here, there's more reports of them targeting the public health infrastructure and showing everything leveled. Aardvarkland strikes have hit. Oh, they're still genociding the Palestinians. You're like, well, they're still whacking those guys. Yeah, they are. Tragically enough here. This one's southern Lebanon. Well, they're targeting both places. Aardvark strikes have hit a Palestinian camp near Sower in southern Lebanon, targeting a water well. They're famous poisoning the well, right? Targeting a water well supplying the northern section of the camp and a solar power system. So you can literally have nothing. And they literally bomb the rubble. Everything's already rubble. They're bombing again. Aardvarkland issued forces displacement orders for at least 10 villages across the southern districts earlier today, as well as the entire city of Tyre, while dramatically intensifying attacks across southern Lebanon. They're ethnically cleansing them and saying leave or die, essentially, here now. Yeah, they're signaling major escalations into southern Lebanon. Ben Gvir took to social media to demand drastic escalation in attacks on Lebanon in light of explosive drones launched by Hezbollah. Here it is in his gibberish, crazy person language. There it is. Ben Gvir. Here's some images. They're turning into apocalyptic hellscape, the same as Gaza. There you go. Leveling the place. On to Palestine. Terrorist fishermen. Aardvark land forces open fire on Palestinian fishermen trying to feed starving Palestinians. 3 people were injured. The attack comes as the U.S. and Aardvark land continue blocking adequate food supplies from entering Gaza while maintaining sweeping restrictions on essential humanitarian aid, deepening the hunger, fuel, shelter, and medical crisis across the Gaza Strip. Go out there and here's video of it. Go out there and try to catch a fish, bro. They'll whack you for that. They look like a threat, right? Dudes in this little boat. That's a clear threat to Aardvark land national security. Where are we at here now? American nurse. Let's hear her report. She's volunteering there in Gaza. I don't even like showing the kids. I won't even show it. We got a bunch of clips today of more kids all blowing up. I'm not going to show it. They'll probably censor it. Anyhow, it's war porn. It's horrific. You can go find it if you're into seeing kids blowing up. But American nurse Ellie Burgos, currently volunteering in Gaza, says that the United States and Aardvark land are still blocking even the most basic medical supplies needed to treat nearly 200,000 wounded Palestinians, including minimum levels of gauze, colostomy bags, and other essential equipment. People are still dying, she said. They are just dying more slowly now compared to last year, being obliterated by a bomb dropping on you, essentially. I added that last part. But the videos of her with a kid, and it's and here's another one. Aardvark land strike on a tent. They're literally bombing the refugee tents as we continue to report. It's systematic. Aardvark land bombed a tent in Kianis today, and earlier today, severed the foot of a 1-month-old infant. And we do have video of it. I'm not even going to show it. The infant's mother and a 6-year-old girl were also killed in the same attack. There's video of the little 1-month-old baby with half its leg blown off. 2 children and a woman were among 5 Palestinians killed by Aardvark land forces yesterday, according to a report shared by the Palestinian side with mediators. Report out at Dropsite News. Since agreeing to the ceasefire last October, Aardvark land forces have carried out 1,304 airstrikes and shelling attacks and 1,160 live fire attacks across Gaza. Sunday alone, 14 new ceasefire violations recorded, and they go through here documenting it all. Total death toll since the ceasefire took effect, Aardvark land has killed 904 Palestinians, including 221 children, 96 women, 25 elderly, and wounded 2,713 more. More than a third of those killed and nearly half of those wounded are children, women, or the elderly. 82 civilians have been detained. Expanding the occupation, Aardvark land also continues to hold approximately 34 square kilometers beyond the agreed to withdrawal lines and has obstructed repairs to electricity, water, and sewage infrastructure. Aid entry. Well, if you try to come on a flotilla, they beat you up, shoot you, break your arm, and rape you in many cases. Aid entry there. Only 37% of agreed to humanitarian aid has been able to reach the Gaza Strip. Roughly 221 trucks per day versus 600, the agreed to amount in the ceasefire. Fuel deliveries remain at just 14.8% of the agreed to levels. The Rafah crossing, only 5,836 passengers have been allowed to cross out of the 16,800 scheduled to cross, about 34.7%. 88 people have been turned back at the crossing. Medical and humanitarian travel remains heavily restricted. Six-year-old girl, and there's video of it. Like, what do you even say to this, man? 6-year-old girl, there's video of her dead. There, dead Palestinian. Little girl, and her father holding her and crying. Here's the face. The child, Muna Allah and Bill Abdul Labda. She was killed in Kianis earlier today, in the last 24 hours. There you go. Looks like a damn terrorist to me. Leveling the place. Here's a. They're whacking people in. They already whacked all their buildings over here, right? They're whacking people in freaking tents. So they blew up your house over here. Oh, go live in a tent. Oh, we'll whack you there too. And they're doing that. Two more here. These are Lebanese, southern Lebanese. Arvar clan bombed their home of Ansria and Subhaya, Zuno, Quanso in Dakwar, southern Lebanon. 2 sisters there. Dead. They look like terrorists, right? Sure they do. Hezbollah announces the first operation of today. This was, what, 24 hours ago? Let's just say in the last 24 hours. Hezbollah is continuing operations there. They launched, what? Can't even keep track. 7 or 8 different operations. On the occasion of Liberation Day, we reported on This Day in History, the liberation of Lebanon from aardvark forces. On the occasion of Liberation Day, celebrated every May 25th in Lebanon in commemoration of liberation of southern Lebanon from aardvark land occupation. Hezbollah publishes scenes of resistance operations from 1986 to 2000, targeting aardvark land occupation forces. And we do have that video. We'll save it. Aardvark military they're losing guys too. Hezbollah drone killed this guy. And so they don't care. They don't care about their own. They don't care about their own troops. So he's now whacked. "11 Aardvark land soldiers have been killed since May 2nd. And yeah, I don't believe their numbers either. They underreport there. This guy, another one. IDF announces death of Staff Sergeant Noam Hamburger, 23 years old, whacked by Hezbollah. For what? You know what I mean? For what? For a banker's war? There you go. It's also tragic and unnecessary to fulfill these religious fanatics' wild dreams. Hacktivist group Handala publishes names of 69 Aardvark land Navy officers involved in the Samud flotilla attacks, places a $100,000 bounty on their heads. Hacktivist group Handala published earlier today the names and details of 69 Aardvark land Navy officers from the Shanet 13 Naval Commando Unit, who it says participated in the interception of the global flotilla, sharing photos and additional information on how to reach each of them. It is placing a $100,000 bounty on each individual. In the message addressed to National Security Minister Ben Gvir, Handala warned, "Know that no crime on land or at sea will go unanswered. You and all your corrupt and bloodthirsty in this cabinet will be pursued by the shadows of the resistance everywhere." And I'm not going to share that, but you can go find it pretty readily available. That's a report out of Drop Site News. If you're looking for that $100,000 bounty, here's one of the activists. And I was detained. Yeah, it's not in English. Miriam Hangel, a French activist with the global Samud flotilla, detained and imprisoned by Aardvark land, testified that detainees were stripped of warm clothing and taken individually into a dark shipping container during their detention. There, she said, she was repeatedly groped and sexually assaulted by multiple Aardvark land soldiers. She also described being slapped, beaten, kneeled in the ribs, and having hair pulled. Multiple flotilla activists have now come forward alleging sexual violence in Aardvark land custody, including claims of sexual assault and rape by Aardvark land soldiers. Organizers say at least 15 of the 480 detained activists reported being sexually assaulted by Aardvark land forces. And there's an interview, but again, it's not in English in the subtitles, so I read you the summation there. Smoke trick. You're going to be borrowing money from Little Smoke Trick someday. That's what old Huckabee says, and we should be grateful. Smoke Trick said, "We need to bring down 10 buildings in Dahayi in response to every drone." A heated clash reportedly erupted inside Aardvark Land's security cabinet during a 5-hour meeting yesterday, according to Ynet News, as Aardvark Land officials debated how to respond to increasingly deadly Hezbollah drone attacks from southern Lebanon amid talks of a possible U.S.-Iran agreement. According to Ynet, Smotrich told Bibi, "We cannot defend ourselves to death. We need to bring down 10 buildings a day in response to every drone." Netanyahu rejected the proposal, replying, "What are you suggesting, that every time there is a drone, we bring down 10 buildings?" Smotrich answered unequivocally, "Yes. Wars are won through deterrence and exacting a price." Literally, quite literally, the face of evil right there, Smotrich. Now, we already reported on that. Ben Gvir, about the same sentiment as Smotrich. He wants to whack them all. Whack them all. U.S. and Aardvark Land are working to end Jordan's custodianship of Jerusalem's Al-Aqsa Mosque and replace it with a new Aardvark Land-controlled multi-faith administration. The proposed plan would allow expanded Aardvark Land prayer access and give Aardvark Land influence over mosque leadership and Friday sermons. That's a report out of MEE. I think that's Eye on the Middle East Eye, something like that. Middle East Eye, I believe. And there's other reports. Are they going to build the third temple next to the mosque? I don't think so. Anyhow, they're still trying to fulfill their apocalyptic prophecy. Here's this report on the red heifers and the whole routine there. In our news, we covered it in depth here. These religious fanatics are trying to bring about the Aardvark Messiah, and the Christian Zionists think they're going to save Aardvarks before the end times, and somehow this is going to bring about Jesus' return. Let's watch this report.
So this one qualifies as to be the first sacrifice of a rebuilt temple.
Yes, I think.
After years of waiting, a perfect red heifer has finally been selected. A perfect heifer without a single blemish. Now, the ceremony of the red heifer is prepared by Jewish priests or Kohanim to burn the red heifer. The ashes from this ceremony were once used to help people become spiritually clean and prepared to enter holy spaces. Israel today witnessed the long-anticipated red heifer purification ceremony, drawing huge spectators, religious pilgrims, and international media.
דוד, הרב יואל שוורץ, ראש ישיבת דבר ירושלים, אב בית דין בסנהדרין וראש בית דין לבני נוח, הרב ישראל אריאל, יושב ראש מכון המקדש.
Rabbi Azaria Ariel stated in an interview that many news outlets have reported all the red heifers as disqualified, which is not entirely accurate. A single white hair may disqualify a heifer, but we currently have 5 heifers under consideration. In 2023, 1 red heifer was disqualified. Then in 2024, 2 more were disqualified, leaving us with 2 remaining. Just a month ago, one of them was selected as the perfect heifer. But we've learned a valuable lesson. Even a perfect heifer can grow a white hair and become disqualified. At the same time, a previously disqualified heifer may lose that white hair, potentially making it kosher again. That's why the selection process must be handled with great care before any are chosen for sacrifice. But the hope is there, as we still have time before the sacrifice. Right now, everything has been in place. We just need government permission, and then the first cornerstone will take place.
It's a purpose of Beis HaMikdash. That's why we decided to do this kind of style. We made it a cornerstone. It has two sides of a finished nice style. It can be the first stone for the Binyan Beis HaMikdash Be'ezrat Hashem.
This man is not building the cornerstone alone. Former Knesset member Moshe Feiglin was filmed with the man near the town of Eli carving stones intended for the future Third Temple. With a hammer and chisel, Feiglin said a sincere prayer. He asked that just like the stones are shaped to honor God, people too would be shaped to live together in unity and stay faithful so that we can rebuild the Third Temple. Moshe Feiglin is very committed in building the Third Temple. He wants to restore Jewish sovereignty over the Temple Mount and rebuilding the temple as a central pillar of Jewish identity. In one video, he was saying that if he were the Prime Minister of Israel, he would build the Third Temple right away. From his statement, we can learn that the government has a vital role in rebuilding the temple.
Am Yisrael Chai.
With political tension rising and pressure from religious groups growing, Prime Minister Netanyahu starts feeling pushed to strengthen Israel's national identity. At a key meeting with ultra-Orthodox leaders and Temple Mount activists, he's shown data that many of his supporters connect deeply with prophetic ideas and want ancient traditions to return. Netanyahu begins to see the idea of rebuilding the Third Temple not just as a religious dream, but as something that could unite the nation. Right now, many Jews believe they are living in a historic moment. There is growing support for rebuilding the Third Temple, with both Jewish communities and evangelical Christians praying for it to happen soon.
There's no reason why the miracle of the reestablishment of the temple on the Temple Mount is not possible.
Groups like the Temple Institute and the Temple Mount Faithful have worked tirelessly to prepare for its construction. Some believe that Prime Minister Netanyahu quietly supports rabbis who are pushing for the temple.
That Netanyahu has actually privately been funding some of the push through the rabbis around this conversation of building a third temple.
And with Donald Trump back in...
And Trump's going to push it to the finish line, apparently, here now, to fulfill their evil prophecy. Armageddon. If they do blow up that Al-Aqsa Mosque, I don't know how Jordan's going to hold back those Muslims, how they're going to hold them back from Egypt, from Jordan, from Lebanon, hell, from Lebanon. 8-front war here. All right. That's all the reporting we got for today. Did they whack any more Iranians while we're on there? Let's see. Iran International headlines. Trump demands uranium destruction. Same old nuke propaganda BS out of Trump. He's a one-trick pony here now at this stage. That's all I can say. Iran can't have a nuke. U.S. intelligence already said they don't have a nuke. Bro, he doesn't care. Has to keep that lie going now, doesn't he? Iran appears to be set to restore internet access after 3 months of blackout. Iran trade union Official says workers now fight to survive. Qatar denies reports of $12 billion to Iran. U.S. says it struck mine-laying boats and missile sites in southern Iran. And nothing major. There's a ceasefire, but they're still stacking bodies everywhere. And then Al Jazeera. Latest headlines. Al Jazeera says U.S. forces strike southern Iran as top Tehran officials in Qatar for talks. Qatar says reports of Iran being offended payment for deal are attempt to sabotage talks. Little Marco is talking with Lavrov there out of Russia. They discuss wars in Iran and Ukraine. Russia warns foreigners to leave Kiev as it prepares systematic strikes. Not good. Not good. But hey, we elected Trump, so the war is ongoing. It's ongoing. Let's pray for peace. It's all quite horrific on this Memorial Day. We go check out the channels here. And there's still some kind of, I don't know what's up with old Odysee. Like, I set up the stream and then I go to it and it doesn't let me click through. I gotta click through a different way to get to the channel to see the, doesn't even look like we're streaming on Odysee. I don't know. And then refresh it and then maybe, possibly, now I see it. Shout out to the Odysee chat over there. Shout out to John Deep Gur Highland. Thank you guys for tuning in on the Odysee, keeping that chat going. George Floyd had an identical twin brother. They were double ugly. No fan of Chauvin, but he didn't kill Floyd. Life choices caught up with both of them. Yeah, that's what happens. You get bad karma, man. Bad juju running rackets, effing people over, selling sex, drugs, whatever the hell else they were doing, gambling. All that's bad news, man. Bad news. You're going to get some of that back on you, as we saw with the George Floyd killing. Bad news, man. John says it serves the agenda of the Habat crazy criminals. They are pretty vocal about wanting us all dead. Said it in the Epstein files, right? Aardvark supremacists. Hey, ask Bill Gates how we get rid of all these people. Yeah. Twice he attacked Iran. Let's see. Highland says, why would Iran deal with you? You blew them up last time. Come on, Highland. Right. I mean, come on. It's obvious, right? Twice he attacked Iran during peace negotiations. His conversion seems to include the treacherous behavior that Aardvark land has constantly displayed. Send Bibi in the white flag. Oh, man. Shout out to Fat Bob. It says, happy useless dead soldier day. They fought for greater powers who bullshitted them and us. That's a good way to put it, Bob. Tragically enough. And I'm done, man. I'm done. You're offended, good. You're triggered, good. You know what I mean? Good. The whole routine about you can't question 9/11 because you're offending, you're desecrating the memory of those that lost and their family. Screw you and your propaganda. It's still affecting us today, and we're lied to about all of this. So pull that flag from off your face and see what the hell the reality of the situation is. War's a racket. All wars are bankers' wars. I know our audience knows that, but I'm just saying the general. I go out in my neighborhood here. Every other house has the American flag. I'm just like, really? The brainwashed public perpetuates the lie as the problem. Grow up. Instead of wake up, how about grow up? For the general public out there, whoever may be tuning in here. Let's Fat Bob say, don't get me started on Fox News anything. It's the war channel. Was it channel? You can tune into channel. What was it? Channel. What were they saying is the equivalent? Aardvark Land channel. What were they saying in this report? I think of 14, right? Tune into Aardvark Land channel 14, and you can get that equivalent of Fox News here in America in English. You could get the I got something in my throat language if you like that flavor of war propaganda, right? Ridiculous. Thank you, Fat Bob. He says, I arrived to wish everyone happy holiday, show support for Sam, Weaponized News. All right. Thank you, Bob. Fat Bob. Appreciate it. Highland last words here says that what if it takes a all right. Thank you guys for tuning in on this Memorial Day on the Odysee and chatting it up over there, keeping it live. Thank you for tuning in on X, Substack, Kick, Facebook, and YouTube, and Rumble. Let's go to at the beginning over here. Shout out to Mac on the Mac says, my investigation indicates occult planning involved in Egypt and endorsed by the world's merchant nations was the cause of October 7th. Wow. That's a good way to put it, Mac. It's a good way to put it. Shout out to Duel on the Rumble. Golden said 420 time. Nature, what's up, Nature Boy? Hip hip for win. Sosa used a corked bat by mistake. He used steroids, but he was a skinny guy. He was a skinny guy last season. Next season, he looks like this. Oh, he's just training real hard. Shout out to those on the YouTube, the new viewers over on the YouTube in the chat. As long as you're not a Huckabee got honey potted. Yellow follow goy. I don't even know what that means. Deism is cancer that can be cured in many. Not these religious fanatics, bro. CPTN Homer on the YouTube. yeah, we're not curing their religious fanaticism. On all sides. On all sides. You got radical Christians, radical aardvarks, radical Muslims. These people are nuts, man. Spread good karma, Pamela said. Let's try. Let's try. Grow your garden. My garden's going pretty good out here. Grow your victory garden. Do what you can locally. Not much we can do. If we had this mass awakening that we keep hearing about, which ain't happening, if everybody just grew up and said, nah, we're not buying. I mean, the emperor has no clothes. And yeah, reach out to your friends, family, neighbors, acquaintances in your immediate area, your circle of influence. That's what we can affect, right? And spread the love there and organize locally. If everybody just said no, then all of this would stop. But I understand what we're up against here. But that would be all it would take is everybody just said no. We're not pulling that trigger. If the soldier said no, we're just simply not going to pull that trigger any longer, then it would all stop. We need divine intervention from the creator of this universe to put it on those in those positions' heart to just stop doing these evil deeds. Spread good karma. Indeed. There. All right, friends. Thank you for joining us on this George Floyd Memorial Day, obvious Veterans Memorial Day as well, obviously. As always, everybody do your own research, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Monday evening, and we'll be back here on